Okay, let's continue. The next topic is the reticular formation. We talk about the reticular formation because they are located right here also in the brain stem. Remember we said this is the brain stem. This is midbrain, pons, and medulla oblongata. And you can see all these red arrows. They are indicating the reticular formation. The reticular formation is a network of neurons that they are scattered all over the brain stem. And they relay the information to, as you can see here, this area right here, this is the thalamus. The thalamus then relays the information to the rest of the brain. So then, as you can see here, this is the reticular formation right here. And again, it relays information they receive, for example, from the ears and from the eyes and also from lower areas of our body, such as, our arms. Right here in the brainstem, we said we have the cardiovascular centers, right, with the vagus nerve, remember, cranial nerve number 10. It also has to do with consciousness. Damage to the reticular formation result in coma. As you can see in there, somatic control, as I said, cardiovascular control. Other functions are pain modulation, and right there you can see sleep and consciousness. You can go into coma if you have damage to this area. The next one is the cerebellum. The cerebellum you can see right here, so you can see where more or less where it is located. All this is your brain. We said this is the encephalum, this is brainstem, and it's behind the brainstem, below the brain. So a cut to the cerebellum show you that it has these areas. They are called the arbor vitae. That looks like a little branches of a tree. Okay, that's what you have inside. The outside of the cerebellum, it shows you that it has lobes. This part is the anterior lobe. This part is the posterior lobe. Okay, also has hemispheres, left hemisphere and right hemisphere, and they're connected, the hemisphere, by the vermis. Very important structure because it helps us control, for example, equilibrium as well as coordination of movement. It has some very important cells, such as the Purkinje cells. Okay, they are very big cells that you are going to have in your cerebellum, as well as granule cells. So we keep scrolling down. Okay, let's continue. The next topic is the forebrain. What we have is the diencephalon. The diencephalon has three parts, as you can see here: thalamus, hypothalamus, and epithalamus. The thalamus is just a group of neurons. They're going to form multiple groups. They are located right in the middle before the information reaches the brain. A lot of times in the book, you're going to see that this is referred as the gateway to the brain, because all the information that you have coming from the body, from the ears, from the eyes, from the cerebellum, from the reticular formation, they're going to go through the thalamus. The thalamus processes all the information and relays this information to the different areas of the brain. So it has multiple different functions, but then the main characteristic is that this group of neurons, they're going to form groups, as you can see right here. Okay, the next one is going to be the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus also forms groups or nucleus, as you can see in here. But two of the most important functions that you need to remember about the hypothalamus is that it controls everything that got to do with hormones and everything that got to do with the autonomic nervous system. Every single hormone that you have in your body is going to be controlled by the hypothalamus. So it has a very important function with respect to maintaining homeostasis of your body and most of the organs in your body. So let's keep scrolling down. As you can see in there, the hypothalamus, hormones, and autonomic effects. Very important. In addition to that, obviously, you have control of hunger, thermoregulation, food intake, relation with the sleep, as well as memory. The epithalamus consists of two main parts. One of them is the pineal gland, and the other one is the habenula. Habenula is part of the limbic system. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, but the pineal gland is going to secrete melatonin, and is going to be necessary in order to control the circadian rhythm, which helps us distinguish between what is day and what is night. The next part is the cerebrum, right? We can see it right here. We said that the cerebrum is divided into hemispheres. This is one hemisphere. On the other side is going to be the other hemisphere. But it can also be divided in lobes. We said this is frontal lobe, parietal lobe, occipital lobe, temporal lobe. This is another lobe called the insula. You need to separate the temporal lobe and the frontal lobe in order to see the insula inside. We also said that the brain is not flat like a table, but it has elevations and grooves. The elevations are going to be called gyra, and the grooves are going to be called sulcus. So if we keep scrolling down, in there that we have the parietal lobe, occipital lobe, we already talked about it. Cerebral white matter. The white matter represents the axons of the neurons. And right here, you can see these ones in green, that they go down and they go up, and this is the ones that we already covered in the spinal cord. We said these ones that go up are ascending tracks, the ones that go down are descending tracks. These tracks, regardless of this being ascending or descending, they're going to be projection tracks. Why? Because those are the nerves, those are the axons from the neuron, and those are going to be the white matter. But projection tracks are not the only tracks that you have. You also have other tracks, which are the axons that communicate one hemisphere to the other hemisphere. Those are going to be called commissural tracks, and that's what you see right here in yellow. You also have other tracks that are going to communicate different areas within the same hemisphere. So for example, this part with this part, and those are going to be called association tracks. If you scroll down, you can see in the projection tracks, commissural tracks, association tracks. Okay, after that we have the cerebral cortex. The cerebral cortex is where everything basically happens. All the coordination and integration of the different type of stimulus that we receive happens in the cerebral cortex at the very top. That's why you see this little square right here where they are showing you the cerebral cortex. So all this neural integration and coordination happens in three main areas. Those are going to be the cerebral cortex, as you can see here, the basal nuclei, and the limbic system. If we enlarge this area, we're going to see that there are very important cells right there in your cerebral cortex. Those cells are going to be pyramidal cells and stellate cells. This position that they have is in layers at the level of your cortex. So if you keep scrolling down, you have the limbic system. So the limbic system is a very important area for emotion and learning. There are multiple different areas associated with the limbic system, and that's what you see right here. Depending on the book that you're going to read, you're going to see that different areas are going to be part of it. But there are three main areas that everybody basically agrees on that, which are the cingulate gyrus, the hippocampus, as well as the amygdala. The cingulate gyrus is this one right here on top of the corpus callosum. Right here, you're going to have the hippocampus. And if I scroll down a little bit more, you're going to see this one right here is the amygdala. So everybody basically agrees that amygdala, hippocampus, and the cingulate gyrus, which is this one in purple, are going to be part of the limbic system. Here you can see, for example, that the amygdala right here is in charge of or in control of emotion, and hippocampus is very important in memory. The next topic is going to be the basal nuclei. The basal nuclei are a set of neurons that they're going to be located on each side of the thalamus. This is the thalamus, and you see these ones right here, they are on the side. Those are considered basal nuclei. So you need to have this transverse cut like this in order to see these areas right here. These basal nuclei are involved in motor coordination. Right here, you see motor control.